This is depressing. Need for Speed was one of the last bastions of hope for big budget arcade racing games. While its contemporaries like Midnight Club, Driver, Burnout, and Ridge Racer all disappeared, Need for Speed kept going. But now, it may have finally joined them in the grave, leaving Forza Horizon to stand alone. Nothing else was quite like Need for Speed. No other AAA racer could match its sense of speed, customization, and style. So, after seeing that Engadget article, and seeing that Unbound was available on PlayStation Plus, I figured now would be a good time to go back and ask, was Need for Speed Unbound so bad that it killed the series? Because when the game first launched back in 2022, I certainly didn't think so. But maybe my devotion to a series I've been playing for years blinded me. I mean, look at all these games I have. From the original game on the 3DO, yes, the 3DO. You know, that failed console that cost $700 in 90s money? This piece of shit? All the way up to ProStreet where I fell off the series. I didn't come back until Heat in 2019. And after that, I went back and replayed a number of the games I grew up with, plus ones I had missed like 2015, Rivals, Shift, and even Criterion's Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted. After Heat, I was optimistic for the first time in years, as not only did I think the game was fun, easy to pick up and play, and had decent music, I actually heard people talking about Need for Speed again. Heat finally gave us some positive momentum, and EA rewarded that success by dissolving the studio and handing the keys back to Criterion. When the precedent is set that a game that sells well and is seen as a return to form for a series is rewarded by liquidation of the development team, what the fuck chance does Criterion have? All eyes were looking to see what they had in store for the next major title, and what exactly they would take from not just their previous games, but how they would take what Ghost Games had left them with. Especially now that many of those people who worked at Ghost Games were brought into Criterion along with Codemasters Cheshire. And when the first trailer for Unbound dropped, the conversation quickly changed from how this game was going to play to what is easily the most controversial topic of this entire game: the art style. Everyone was talking about the game's new anime look, and as someone who isn't really a fan of anime, this isn't anime. This is more in line with graffiti and street art from American urban cities like Chicago and New York rather than traditional Japanese animation. It's less Goku and more Miles Morales. And I can understand why they would choose to stylize the characters and implement these loud graphics, as it gives the game something that not just Need for Speed has been lacking, but racing games in general: a distinct visual identity. Something that truly makes it stand out and makes the game instantly recognizable, for better or worse. Personally, I don't mind the graphical explosions or the 2D smoke trails. I'm not a fan of the cel-shaded characters, as I think their bright color palette clashes too much with the world they inhabit, where the cars and the City of Lakeshore aim for a more realistic aesthetic that we see in all other AAA racing games. I'm not going to critique them for trying something new. What I am going to critique is their seeming lack of dedication to this change when confronted with backlash. After the reveal, the devs wanted to make it clear that the game's new effects could be turned off from the vehicle customization, which seems all well and good, except you could only affect your vehicle. You couldn't change the style of the character, the NPCs, or their cars. Those were all set in stone. This makes the ability to toggle these effects on and off seem more reactionary than a deliberate design choice from the start. Like they saw the backlash online and quickly threw in something to appease those who weren't fans of the new style. More of a "we're sorry, please don't be mad at us" button that they slammed into the menu at the last minute. It's just a shame that the aspect that they poured a ton of time into to give the game a distinct visual identity was seen as a barrier to entry for many people. And thus, many people never even bothered to hop in the driver's seat to take Unbound for a test drive. And that's a real shame, because once you do get behind the wheel, Unbound actually feels really good to play. If you've played any other arcade racer in the past decade, these cars will handle exactly how you would expect them to. Brake to drift is either a love it or hate it thing for many people, but here in Unbound, I think they struck a good balance. Drifting can be fine-tuned how you like based on your vehicle, the differential, the tires, and how you set the car to handle with these upgrades. And when you're going between races and drift events, you all but need to tune your car accordingly. High performance supercars like the Lotus Aveja out the gate aren't going to be as easy to drift as something like a Buick Grand National, and trying to take a turn in a Corvette like a supercar is going to send you into the dirt 9 times out of 10. This doesn't mean that you can't slide that anime plastered Lambo, it's just going to require some fine tuning and honing your skills. And tuning your cars is one of the best aspects of the game, and it's something you're going to need to do in order to progress. To start, cars are broken up into 5 tiers: B, A, A+, S, and S+. Each tier is relegated to their own races, so B cars will be going up against other B cars and so on for each tier. The higher the tier, the more high-end cars you're going up against. You could build a B-tiered car to something like an A+ or an S tier too if you so choose. At the start, you'll be limited to B and A tier races, but as each in-game week passes, higher tier races will be made available. This encourages you not only to build up a few cars in each tier so you can still participate in lower tier races, but also to tune your cars in each tier for specific race types while not overwhelming your garage with a bunch of cars you're never going to touch. I stuck with 2 or 3 cars in each tier so I can participate in the different events at any point, at least on my first playthrough back when the game released. Now, with all the game's DLC, I have a bunch of cars from the get-go, so if you plan on picking up this game with all the updates, you're basically set for each tier from the start. You can upgrade everything on the cars from the brakes, the intake, and even dropping a different engine into the car in order to build out an absolute beast. You are able to tune your cars to lean into more drift or grip builds to suit your style and the events. I ended up tuning my race cars for grip because that's how the Need for Speed games I grew up with controlled. I think Racevic described the controls of Most Wanted best when he described it as
the feeling of being in total control, but just barely.
And while Unbound doesn't have that control to the same degree as the Black Box era, it is a huge step closer to that than any other game in recent history of the series. It's enough that when I drive these cars, I don't get frustrated because the car doesn't behave the way I want or the way I expect. Any mistakes are my own fault, either due to my setup being wrong or my own inability to properly judge a turn. Especially when the ability to tune your ride this much is available to you. I like taking corners quickly with grip rather than drifting through them like I'm Takami from Initial D. So making separate drift builds for the drift and takeover events while my cars for sprints hug the ground like a child on its mother's teat is just the way I like it. And in keeping with Need for Speed's tuner-centric games, the customization for all the vehicles is second to none. You have plenty of options to choose from to customize your rides. Wings, fenders, diffusers, tires, splitters, even the license plate and the frames all have plenty of options for you to mess with to your heart's content. And the livery editor truly allows you to design the car however you want. I always sucked at these and I'm not very good, but just looking at what the community liveries have for you to plaster on your car is a testament to how anyone with the creativity and the talent has the freedom to make their car look however they want. That brings us to the boost gauge, a staple of the series since Hot Pursuit 2 and a given for all arcade racing games ever since. You have your normal boost which will gradually refill as you race around, but this game adds some depth to that boost mechanic. Alongside your standard boost gauge, you also have a second triple stacked yellow boost gauge called Burst Nitrous that you can refill by taking risks like big jumps, drafting, drifting, and even taking grip turns. Burst Nitrous can be used to give you a bit of an extra kick without affecting your normal boost. As you drive, this gauge will fill up to either 1, 2, or 3 bars. The more bars, the bigger the boost. The risk is that this gauge doesn't last a long time, and you must either use it quickly or combo risky driving in order to build it up to its max or risk losing it altogether. This adds some depth to the boosting mechanic that rewards you for driving well. This in turn will affect how you choose to tune your car as you want to maximize this boost as much as you can. Another major benefit of Burst Nitrous is that it can seemingly stop all sideways momentum and transfer it all to forward thrust, allowing you to quickly readjust if you go wide out of a corner to get back on track quickly. A sort of safety net if you time it well enough. This is probably one of my favorite mechanics of this game, and if the series continues, and I hope it continues, I want this mechanic to return. And boosting out of corners isn't just useful in races, It's your only hope for surviving the pursuits. The heat system returns, but in Unbound, it feels less like a thrilling challenge and more of a tedious chore. With only 5 heat levels that build aggressively fast, you'll find yourself dodging helicopters and corvettes after just 2 or 3 races. In older titles, cops would either be a spicy extra challenge or the star of the show. Here, they try to be both and fail at both. During races, they're practically ghosts, but in the open world, they're a plague, spawning out of thin air just to claim your head on their bumper. The cops aren't actually difficult though. They're just as dumb as they've always been. In fact, the most effective way to deal with them is this goofy little exploit. If you see a cruiser before they spot you, just ram them at full speed. And if you hit them hard enough before the spotting bar fills up, you can wreck them instantly and go about your day without ever starting a pursuit. It's a ridiculous unintentional stealth mechanic that highlights just how broken the AI is. The real tragedy is the complete lack of legitimate tools to fight back. Unlike the black box era, there are no pursuit breakers, no falling radio towers or exploding gas stations to thin the herd. Without them, the chases aren't exciting and they're just a tedious tax on your time. This creates a massive progression flaw. High heat is a death sentence for lower tier cars, making B and A tier races a waste of time once you hit heat level 5. It got to the point where my most effective pursuit breaker wasn't a tactical maneuver, it was just restarting the game to avoid the headache. If any game needed the return of pursuit breakers, it was this one. We're still rated T just like Most Wanted and Carbon. So have the games just gotten soft, or are the devs just afraid of a little controversy? But now, with all the gameplay out of the way, this game does have a story mode for you to progress through. Need for Speed was never big on story. Many games never even bothered having one, and the ones that did never really focused on it. They only serve as a reason to go racing rather than something to be pushed, and it's no different here. Standard story of your friend betraying you and stealing your car, and now you have to race in a tournament in order to face said friend in order to win your car back. You spend 4 in-game weeks grinding through qualifiers to reach the Grand and win your car back, but the narrative payoff is a total wet fart. The mysterious leader, Alec, is a literal ghost. You never meet him, see him, or even race him. After weeks of buildup, racing day and night, he's simply taken out off screen. You just get a phone call from Tess saying that he went bankrupt and lost everything after the race.
Oh yeah? How's Alec?
Broke, fam. Thanks to you.
I'm lost. Why do you sound happy?
What a jip. Not that I really cared that much anyway, but still. But you know what? Maybe it's best that this story isn't a focus, as these characters are so annoying. Seriously, these characters never shut up. All the writing here just reeks of...
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
And can I ask, why do both this game and Heat want to make street racers talk like they're fighting a rebellion and what they're doing is righteous?
I was scared the cops in this town have stepped up their game. Like they're on some kind of mission.
Oh, what do you mean?
Part of some campaign the mayor is running.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to be making many friends around the lake, does she?
Power always corrupts. Mark my words, one day those at the bottom are gonna eat those at the top.
You're street racers, not freedom fighters. What you're doing isn't noble, it's illegal and dangerous. The only character I could even stand to listen to is Rydell, your pseudo father figure and boss. And that's only because calls with him are sparse, and he seems to be the only character with amusing dialogue. I think his voice actor is the only one who seemed to care to add any real personality to his lines. Every other character is a caricature. Tess constantly spurts cringy influencer lines or just talks like the most annoying person on the planet that we all just want to hit in the face with a chair.
Hey, who's getting rich tonight, huh? You, bro? You, bro? Woo! If you know, you know. Hey!
Yeah speaks like she barely read the script and doesn't understand what's going on around her for the purposes of being an antagonist, and the other racers either have one-liners during races or sound like they're doing a scripted podcast rather than having a conversation with you when you give them rides.
I'd rather you talk less and drive more.
You said it. Oh, and that last point goes double for ASAP Rocky. Yeah, A$AP Rocky's in this game for some reason. A$AP runs the takeover events around the city at night, which play more like the Gymkhana events from Forza Horizon rather than the real life takeovers. Thank God. And he eventually becomes someone you race against in the final week of the Grand. You eventually get the opportunity to pick him up like you can with the other racers, and he proceeds to basically have a one-way conversation with you about how he's just like me and you, and how he's just a normal guy who happens to be rich and famous. I don't mind A$AP Rocky, it's just, given this game's Chicago inspiration, I feel like A$AP, who is from New York, is a strange choice. Why not go with a Chicago rapper like King Von? Oh wait, no, he's no longer with us. Alright, well, what about Kanye? You know what? Probably best to avoid Ye. Chance the Rapper. He's not too controversial, right? And speaking of controversy, before the game was announced, and likely after Rocky recorded his lines, A$AP would face some controversy himself, with a lawsuit alleging that he fired a gun at another member of A$AP crew in late 2021, which likely crippled this game's marketing, as Rocky is a huge part of the game. From being in the game to having the game's cover car of a custom Mercedes-Benz 190E, and even the game's theme song of Shittin' Me, which brings me to this game's music and soundtrack. This game's soundtrack is horrible. A bunch of multicultural rap and hip hop over trap beats, which doesn't pump me up to get me racing. It just makes me skip tracks till I get to one of the few songs I enjoy, like the songs by A$AP Rocky himself. Well, except Shittin' Me. I don't care for that song really. But credit where credit is due, not the worst song about feces I've heard. We basically have Ice Spice's entire music library for that. I just ended up muting the game's music, and not just to avoid copyright claims on this video. The sound mixing, on the other hand, is pretty good. Fading songs out near the end of a race just to pump the chorus back in as you cross the finish line, it's good. It's just a shame that the music selection is piss poor. I would rather have seen more music from A$AP Rocky and his collaborators like Tyler the Creator over some random Russian rap song. The sound of the engines, exhaust, tires screaming for bloody mercy as you drift around the corner of the hillside passes all sound excellent. And speaking of the hillside, the map here is diverse, if just a bit bland. There are plenty of collectibles like bears with the Chicago flag to collect, billboards to smash, and graffiti to collect to unlock more cosmetics. Scattered around the map are drift events, speed traps, delivery missions, and time trials you can partake in to earn more cash or unlock new vehicles. The only issue is that when I'm passing through some of these, the frame rate seems to drop for seemingly no reason. And that's when I'm rocking a 4080. We have the main city of Lakeshore, heavily based on Chicago with the underground roads like Lower Wacker Drive, which if you've watched The Dark Knight or Blues Brothers, you would know, and the elevated trains through the city. I would have liked to see more recognizable Chicago landmarks though. Outside the city, however, we have highways, construction areas, hills, and a quarry. As it stands, the map is forgettable, and I would have loved to see this map get expanded to have suburban areas further out to give more points of interest and have the city be expanded. This would have allowed more tracks because, as it is, tracks repeat a lot. And after a day or two in each week or race tier, you've already seen all the tracks the game has to offer. You will race one track, then moments later you're racing the same track just backwards. And these repeated tracks don't improve much when moving to the game's multiplayer. And just a quick aside, to restart this game from the beginning, I had to go into my files and delete my save data from my folder. Little did I fucking know that deleting this file would restart my entire character, challenges, and garage collection in online too. What the fuck, EA? Granted, I didn't have much to begin with as I didn't play a lot of online, but I did have a few nice cars like my recreation of the M3 GTR from Most Wanted that are now just dust in the wind. So yeah, thanks for having all that deleted because God forbid I wanted to give your single player a second chance. Okay, I'm calm now. Back to online. For the most part, all the races from the single player are here, but they have added more races, events, and cars with updates over the years. The Hot Pursuit playlist tasks racers to compete in a race as both player and NPC cops try to stop them. And my favorite new game mode, Lockdown. An extraction game mode whose key appeal is finding and collecting the blacklist cars, which thankfully that progress stayed, but not the cars themselves, from lockups around the map. Lockups can either be found and unlocked with cash you earn from random race events the host Racer X invites you to, or cash found around the map, all while the lockdown area expands to encompass more and more of the map, meaning instant level 5 heat. Or you can find a randomly spawning motorcycle and drive right in, avoiding the $100,000 purchase. Once you get a car, you must make your way to a truck, claim it from other players, and successfully extract. Fail to extract or get busted? You lose access to the vehicle you brought in for 24 hours. This is the best idea Unbound has had since Burst Nitrous. It's a unique game mode that I can't help but get addicted to. Unbound wasn't the nail in the coffin because it was bad. It was actually the best driving physics we've had in over a decade. It was the nail in the coffin because EA doesn't know what to do with it, combined with unfortunate marketing. It's also that everything surrounding the core experience of driving and racing is either poorly implemented, lazy, or just bad. I really hope Need for Speed isn't dead, as if this driving model were to be worked into a new game with better implementation of the cops, less annoying characters, and a dedicated identity for the series, we could have a true renaissance here. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see a new entry in the series for some time, as EA has stated that the series is on hold and there are no plans for the series yet moving forward, but I have an idea to bring people back to Need for Speed, and EA, you could just take this idea for free. Just re-release not one, but 2 collections of older titles. The first, the Need for Speed Classic Collection, a collection of all the Need for Speed games from the original up to Porsche Unleashed. Just make them run on modern systems and allow them to be played in 4K. After that, you can then release the Black Box Collection, a collection of all the Black Box games starting from their version of Hot Pursuit 2 to The Run, with the same 4K upscaling. That's it. Minor development costs, as you don't even need to remaster the games. Just port them to run on modern hardware. But I doubt they would do that, as EA would need to pay for all the music licenses again. But hey, a boy can dream, right? What do you think of Unbound? Do you agree with my points? Do you think I'm an idiot? And would you want a re-release of the older titles so we could finally play them without sailing the 7 seas or paying for physical discs? If you like this video, leave a like, comment, share, all the things that the algorithm likes, and I'll see you guys next time with either Forza Horizon 6 or 007 First Light. Or maybe I'll take a look at Highguard real quickly. That game just came out and I'd like to give that a fair shot. Whichever I end up doing next, I'll be there, and I hope you will be there as well.